Hi, John Robinson here with this week's Money Minute. This week, let's keep it light and talk about this year's Rugby World Cup and specifically the revenue earned by both the host nation and World Cup Rugby Limited. If you cast your mind back to 2017, South Africa was a shoo-in to be the current host of the World Cup, only for things to turn against us at the 11th hour. This is what it could have meant for South Africa in terms of money into our coffers. Although one might argue we dodged a bullet because of our current electricity woes. But let's dive into the numbers. As a previously released report from Ernst & Young claimed that the tournament in Japan in 2019 saw the highest ever economic impact in Rugby World Cup history and increased the Japanese GDP by nearly $3 billion, a huge number. The mega event is attracting even more tourists to France, meaning hotels, airlines, museums, and more benefiting massively. The 2023 tournament, the 10th edition, is expected to attract more than 500,000 visitors to France and bring approximately $1 billion into its economy. Meanwhile, the organization Rugby World Cup Limited is expected to rake in a hefty revenue in the vicinity of $500 million. The majority of the revenue comes from broadcasting rights, followed closely by sponsorships, and then income from ticketing and merchandise. In broadcasting terms, hundreds of millions of people watch the World Cup. But if you were to compare that to global sports like the Olympic Games or the Football World Cup, you're talking about billions of people, which is why it's so important that the game has started to be featured in the Olympic Games since 2016. Increased revenue to World Rugby Limited allows the game to be expanded and grown across territories into massive growth areas like the US and competitions being held even in places like China. Rugby as a professional investment may seem to be in its infancy, but its potential is clear, with some European private equity firms dabbling in the sport already. The US market for sport is still the biggest in the world. 1/3 of global economic activity in sports has its origin in America. And with the 2027 World Cup due to be held in the US, and the fact that the US is now beginning to take a keen interest in rugby and see a potential commercial return, I think this is significant. That's it for now. Thanks again for watching.